Welcome to the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast, the show where we shine a light on the incredible businesses, community leaders, and local legends that are shaping our town. I'm your host, James O'Donnell, and today we are joined by Simon Barr, the founder of White Trees Group. Simon, great to have you on the podcast.
You're right, James.
Hey, Simon. So for those of us who don't know you yet, who are you and what do you do here in Bishop Stortford?
So I'm, as you said, Simon. I founded a company called, we started off as Shore Care Residential. So we run children's homes and all across Hertfordshire and Essex, and we've got two in Bournemouth now as well. And we also set up a specialist school for children with all sorts of difficulties, struggles in mainstream school. So we won't just say special educational needs because they're not. They're all sorts of needs. So that's what we do in our local area.
Fantastic. So how did all this get started? What was the spark?
So I was brought up in care. 13, my dad died, and my dad was a vicar. So we lived in a vicarage, 5 of us, 5 kids, but we always had foster kids. So when my dad was alive, I always shared room with 3 foster kids. When my dad died, unfortunately, long story, I got put into care. I ended up living homeless for a little bit of a time at about 13, and I went into care. And I suppose you can say that my whole life has been spent with looked after children. That's what we're called, looked after children, because we're looked after by the state. And so my whole life, even when my dad was alive, and I had quite an idyllic childhood up to that point-ish, but not idyllic, but in many ways it was idyllic. And so my life took a turn and I ended up, actually coming into the care system. And I think that quite a lot of people said to me, I was destined to go to prison. I was destined to have a different life than I've got now. And I think having a little bit of oppositional defiance disorder really helped me because people kept telling me I couldn't do stuff. And the more people told me I couldn't do stuff, the more I tried to do it. And I think that's the story of my life, really, in a nutshell.
Wow. In a nutshell, wow. Okay. And where and how from that have you got to a point now? What's the, another nutshell to say? How's that growth?
Yeah, it's a big story. But I ended up I got attacked in Bristol and I got my leg broken with the pickaxe handle, and I ended up living in a tent. I was homeless. I joined a voluntary agency. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go anywhere in the world. And I was just self-fulfilling prophecy. I was doing what everyone had told me I was going to do when I was a kid, which is end up in prison. And I got a bus, and I joined this voluntary agency, and they put me in this place called St. Elizabeth's in Bishop Stortford, just outside of Much Haddam. And I jumped on this bus and I ended up in Bishop Stortford. I ended up working at St. Elizabeth's, and my life changed because I learnt about all the special needs that I had that I didn't realise when I was a kid. And so I worked in a class with a group of 6 kids, little tiny ones, little 7-year-olds. And I learned really how to read and write properly. I learned about my own dyslexias, my own problems. I went to 5 senior schools. After my dad died, I got expelled from lots and lots of different schools. I had a very fruity education. I didn't get any qualifications or anything. So, and then I met my wife there. And, that my journey in care started. My journey working in the care industry started.
Today's podcast is brought to you by a great local business helping people take back their time in Bishop Stortford. If your weekends are getting swallowed by cleaning instead of time with your family, I get it. As a dad of 2 young boys, I know how fast those moments can go, and I've been let down by cleaners before. That's why I use Time For You Cleaning. They're reliable, friendly, and give you one less thing to worry about. If you want your time back, head to timeforyou.cleaning and let them know the podcast sent you. Get back your precious time and support local. Right, back to the show. And what was the spark for you to start the group that you're leading now?
I was working for a lot of, because of my criminal record, from a child I got a criminal record. I was banned from driving at 13. That tells you something. All of it's from when I was a kid. I couldn't get a job working for the council. I couldn't get a job. So I had to work for private companies. And all of the private companies, bar none, that I worked for over the years, Elizabeth was very different because that was just a voluntary job. I went on then to work in London and all of that stuff. All of the owners were just they were making lots and lots of money. And the kids had nothing. We weren't giving anything back. I felt like we were doing a great job as a team, the team of people working with some of the kids, but the companies were, kids didn't have all of the things that they should have. They didn't have the nice holidays. They didn't have the really nice bed sheets. Some of them didn't even have doors on their bedrooms because they'd kicked them off and no one wanted to pay for them. So, they didn't have opportunities. And so I got very disillusioned. I left the industry. I went to set up a building company. I had £100. I was in a bit of a bad way because I didn't know what else to do with my life. I set up a building company. And then 2 years later, a friend of mine convinced me to get back into the care industry. And we wrote the business plan based on looking after the adults, not the kids. Because my biggest thing was people in our industry weren't getting looked after. Same with teachers. Everything is a blame. Everything is you've done this, you've done that. And I just don't like that. It's just not who I am. And so we did a business plan, and we decided that we were going to do it better. And that was 2008, December 2008.
Wow.
I think it's about 15 years ago. It's been a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fantastic.
and we're still on the journey.
In relation to Bishop Stortford, people have probably seen White Trees on the high street and elsewhere. What do you do as part of the community, or what might people experience of the work?
Well, you would never have seen us on the high street because we always just wanted to blend in. And I was saying this to you before we started. I don't, this is not something that you want to show off about because, kids in care shouldn't be something that you show off. But, and as a company, as an organization, we want to blend in. You would never know our children's homes exist. We could live next door to you and you wouldn't really know. We've got houses in, from Braintree in Bishop Stortford, right the way down to Harlow, Saffron Walden, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful homes. And we want to blend in, but the problem we've got with blending in is people actually need to understand what a looked after child is. People in our society, I speak to people and they don't even know that kids actually go into care anymore. And they think everyone goes into foster care. Now, foster care is not right for a lot of children. It wasn't right for me. And actually, there's a lot of pros and cons to foster care or residential care. And our homes are like, I always say to a layman, it's really easy to describe. We're like a foster family on steroids. So, the kids are having a tough time, staff are having a tough time. They can go home, the staff can go home, they can come back. They can start again, they can start afresh. When you've got somebody living in your house, if you're having a tough time, you're all having a tough time together. With your own kids, if you're having a tough time, they're having a tough time at school, you're having a tough time. If you're having a tough time at work, they're probably going to have a tough time too, because that's how our energy works. Our energy flows between, the relationships, the dynamics. And, so children's homes are much needed, because some of our young people, they just don't want to live in a family. They don't want your boundaries. They don't want your morals. They don't want your smells. They don't want your, all of that stuff. They want to exist. They want to have and I don't think people realise that in a community, and we are Bishop Stortford is a lovely community. Our homes are like little communities of their own. And people feel like, our kids feel like they've got part of a family. So they're part of our White Trees family. And some kids don't come on board with that, but a lot of kids do. And a lot of our staff do as well. And some don't. And I think it's about raising awareness of that so that people realise that it's an opportunity. They could come and make a difference and actually be part of our team and work with us. And I think for me, that's why you now see us on the high street. I think, with our schools, a lot of people know us more now because of our schools, because they're out more in the public. Whereas the homes, you kind of hide away from it. You don't really want to show off the homes. And rightfully so. They're not for everybody to know about, are they? But people do need to understand what these, that there's nothing wrong with these kids. They're not essentially, they're not criminals. I've had people say to me that you shouldn't open a children's home in a really nice road. We've got one of our homes is on one of the nicest roads in Stortford, and they've said, that actually you should be on a trading estate or you should be on a council estate. Well, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that gets my back up. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to change people's perception of what a looked after child is. Because I was a looked after child and I'm not a bad person. So, and I think there's a lot of us that, can tell our stories, and I think people need to know about our stories.
Yeah. And then, so there are opportunities in Bishop Stortford now. If you're listening to this or watching this and you're interested in the work that White Trees and Simon is doing, for people to come and start careers and
Yes.
help and work
Yeah,
with you
very
guys.
good careers. Yeah, yeah, very good careers.
So
In
what
all
kind
sorts
of,
of roles as well, all
yeah.
sorts of roles. Yeah,
So
whether you're a mum and your kids have just just gone to secondary school and you've got a few hours here and there and you want to come and join us, or whether you're a qualified teacher and you're just completely done with the mainstream setup in the mainstream. And I'm not saying we're amazing. I'm saying we're trying to be better. We're trying to do things different. We're trying our best to, and I think that part of trying to change how the system works. Some people, they just need that. They need to know that they can actually make a difference.
so if someone's out there and listening now and wants to get involved and wants to work with you guys, what's the best route for them to reach out
I mean,
and make
there's lots of
contact?
different routes. They can contact us on social media if that's easier. You can jump on our website. The website's pretty easy to navigate. You can go on any of the big job boards. We'll have jobs advertised anywhere, and you can walk into our head office. You can come and knock on the door of the shop. The phone numbers are all over the door, so there's plenty of ways to get in contact. I think people these days sometimes are reluctant with the face-to-face stuff to start with, and I think that's a newish thing. It used to be the phone in my day. Like everyone was a bit scared to use the phone. Now everyone wants to use the phone, but no one really wants to walk in. We're not scary, actually. Lots of people do come and just knock on the door. And yeah, we'll arrange an interview, and we can. And you don't even have to. It could just be because you're interested. It might not be. Might not be ready to make a step yet. You might not be ready to make a move, but you might just want to understand us a little bit more. There's lots of videos and stuff on our social media of me talking, doing other stuff, a podcast out there, and things that we've been starting to do. So you can go and have a look at any of that sort of stuff if you want to. And I think it's a great career for people to, whether it's a secondary career or whether it's a main career. Loads of
Fantastic.
qualifications to be had as well.
What we'll do is we'll make sure we link up to this in the show notes and whenever we put it out on social so that people can, just click through and have a look about what you got out there. Because I think there's going to be lots of, from what I'm finding in Bishop Stortford, is so many people are invested in the community and want to help and want to support. And having these opportunities that you're talking about today, I'm sure there's going to be people out there listening to this who will want to step up and support. So let's see what we can do. Have you got anything coming up over the next 6 months or so that you're excited about, and any new developments or work that you're doing?
Well, we've got the two. So we've just expanded one of our two of the ladies that worked with us for a very long time. One was one of our managers, and one was a director of the organisation. They both relocated home, and they're both from that way. They're both from the South Coast. So we've just taken on two properties down there as homes. One of them's just registered. We've got our first few children living there now, and we'll be looking to replicate what we do here there. So that's very exciting, and our school is growing exponentially. It's actually, we've gone from, I think 5 years ago, we had about 16 students, and now we've got 87 coming back in this new year. So, yeah. And we're offering an amazing array of, our wider curriculum, which is what we really set up the school as. I set the school up on accident. It was a complete accident. I've never even been to school. I don't really even like the education system, if I'm very honest. And it doesn't suit a lot of people. But again, somebody told me I couldn't do it. I was having an argument with a head teacher of a school. One of our kids had been kicked out, and they said, well, just go and do it your effing self. And I thought, well, okay, I will. So I did. And it, we started off really just with a wider curriculum. We started off with, kids going and having experiences. My one goal was that we had 100% attendance. So our kids, some of our biggest problem with our children in our school is they don't attend. They don't want to go to school. They don't like adults. They don't like the system. They don't want to come in. My goal, I thought, if they come into the door and they're in and they're there 100% of the time, they want to be there, at least they're getting looked after. Yeah, at least they're safe. That was the goal. That was my only goal. And I've had to grow myself since then. It's been very, very painful. But as the school has grown and changed and evolved and become a real school, or not even a real school. I say a real school. I mean, I'm talking about the Ofsted stuff. I mean, it's more like a learning facility. It's, you know, our kids come there to grow. It's like a grow pod. They come there to grow. We've got the wider curriculum is made up of, we've got our own forest in Leaden Road in. We've got kids going out and you know, doing construction projects. We've got kids doing taxidermy. We've got kids doing, you know, our kids, they have everything. They have a completely individual curriculum. Every child can do something completely individualized to them. And I always joke that every child, we've got a big problem with car parking, if anyone can help us with that, because pretty much every kid in the school has a car, let alone a member of staff, because they all just need to go off. They all need to go and do what they need to do when they need to do it, because they struggle so much. The biggest goal is really to get them there. If we can get them there, we can get them engaged in the things that they like, you know, and it's a very complicated, but very rewarding way to do it.
Simon, your passion and enthusiasm for the work that you're doing is inspiring. There's definitely going to be people out there that can help and support and that are interested in getting involved with the work that you're doing, because as you say, getting the message out there, getting exposure for the work you're doing, it's only going to help. It really is. Thank you. Thank you for opening the doors a little bit to the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it. Are you ready for some Stortford Spotlight questions?
Yeah, I haven't done my prep on these. So
you haven't done your homework?
I never do homework.
I shouldn't have framed it like that at all, should I? Never mind. I want to give a shout out to a brilliant local business making life better right here in Bishop Stortford. If you've ever felt bored or awkward or unmotivated at the gym, well, you're not alone. Getting fit should feel fun. That's what I love about Vida Wellness Club. Besides yoga, Pilates, they also run friendly, energizing dance sessions like Zumba, Zumba Gold, Broadway Boogie that actually make you want to move. You can book a free session now at vidawellnessclub.com and let them know that the podcast sent you. No pressure, just great vibes and a stronger you. Support your fitness and support local. Right, back to the show. All right, let's go. Stortford Spotlight. These are 3 fast questions that we ask every guest that comes on the show. First question. If you could put one sentence on a billboard in Jackson Square, what would it say?
Someone loves you.
Easy. Number 2. Where do you go in Bishop Stortford that you secretly hope never gets too popular?
I think it's too late for that, but I just love the park. You will often see, I will often be running around or walking around the local park, right the way up to Back Willowhurst, down the river. When I first turned up on the bus, I turned up and I ended up at the train station and I took a little walk. And I had £5. I'd been homeless. I hadn't eaten for days. I couldn't afford a taxi. So I had a little walk around the area trying to get my bearings to see if I could walk to Much Adam, and I couldn't. So I stumbled across the park and I loved it straight away. And I think that stayed with me. That's why I love Stortford, because Stortford changed my life, even though it was me that did it. Yeah, so it would be the park, the same park.
Fantastic. And I suppose that they have spent quite a bit of money on it, even like in the last 12 months.
Yeah,
to make it,
and it's always so lovely. Like there's always, I know there's probably bad people and stuff, but it's always such a pleasure walking around the park. Yesterday, I ran around it in the morning. There's people laughing, smiling, having picnics. There's a lovely coffee shop there now, which is really nice. And then yesterday afternoon, I took the dog for a walk when the sun had gone down a little bit, and it's just lovely people doing their own thing. And it's just very pleasant. I love it.
Very wonderful. Thanks, Simon. And lastly, your opportunity to shine a light on someone that's doing something awesome. Who's doing something special in town that more people need to know about?
Who's doing something special in town? I would say Bishop Stortford Judo Club.
Tell me about that, Simon.
So the judo club, I stumbled across it for my son. I did judo when I was very young, and my friends were all very good at it. My friends were always the stable kids. They were from good backgrounds. They all ended up doing very well in their judo. So as soon as my son was 5, I found a club. and Bishop Stortford Judo Club, and we sponsor them now. And the community there is unbelievable. The community is part of our lives. It's embedded through everything. You know, if you need something, there's somebody there that can help. The actual sport, the actual art and sport itself is something that, you know, is humbling for kids. It creates challenge, which our kids don't get. You know, my children don't get as much challenge as I had. Obviously, I don't want them to have as much challenge as I had, but it builds resilience. You know, getting thrown on your face a little bit and having a tear here and there, and going into a competition and having to compete against another person 1-to-1. You know, gives you some sort of humility to realize, especially when you're 5 and you start and you're getting beaten up by a 5-year-old girl. You know, it's great, and I think all kids should try. It's not for everyone, and I don't think you know that sport is for everyone. But the whole community of it, the whole feel of it, I think everyone should give it a go, because you never know. There's all sorts of quirks, and I think everyone that goes has got some sort of autism. You know, I've got raging ADHD and autism and all sorts of stuff going on, and I just think it's a lovely place where we get accepted for all of our little inadequacies.
Totally. Look, Bishop, the judo club, be very honest, it's probably one of the reasons I've moved to Bishop Stortford, because of the community feel that you get when you walk in the dojo. They're going to be on the podcast, so we're going to do a whole episode with them, but we'll put links in the show notes below. Anybody with a kid that's 5 plus, get involved, because you never
100%.
know. Get them on the mat, get them experiencing something tough. The way I would, it's all the stuff you're not allowed to do at home. You can basically do on the judo mat. You can throw people around. You can jump around.
Yeah.
With unbelievably good instructors.
Yes.
And they are really, really fantastic. So we'll link to that. This isn't a love in for these guys, but that is a great place, and it's a great thing about Bishop Stortford, I think. Awesome. Simon, last shout out. Where's the best place for people to go to find you online and get involved?
whitetreesgroup.com.
Excellent. As I said, we will link to that. That's a wrap. Simon, thanks today for joining us today on the Bishop Stortford
Thank you very
Community
much
Podcast.
for inviting me.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem, Simon. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're still listening along, the best way to support the show is to hit follow, leave a quick review on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and share it on your socials. If you think there's someone listening to this, if you're listening to this and you think you know someone who might want to get involved with the work that White Trees are doing, share this podcast with them so they can get to know Simon a little bit better, and they can reach out to White Trees themselves. And if you know a local legend, just like Simon, who has set something up in Bishop Stortford that is making waves, that you think we should feature on the podcast, drop me a message or tag them in the comments so I can share their story with the community. That's it from me. Go out there and support someone or something local today. Again, Simon, thanks for joining us on the show.
Take care. Thanks, James.
If you run a business built on trust, but your website's full of stock photos and silence, we need to talk. True Tone Testimonials helps coaches, consultants, and other service providers turn real client stories into high-converting video content. No scripts, no fluff, just honest words from real people who already love what you do. They're professionally filmed and ready to drop onto your site or into your socials. Head to truetonetestimonials.card.co. Let your clients do the selling. Okay, support local. Let's get back to the show.